Hi, hi. Happy Monday. I'm so excited to be here today. I had such a relaxing weekend, and so I just feel like I have all this energy. It's just so true. I mean, I preach this all the time, but it is so freaking true that when you take care of you, when you fill your own cup, it is so much easier to pour into your business. And I'm so feeling that today, just relaxing so much all weekend and really having downtime and enjoying and doing whatever I wanted. I so much more productive today, so much more energetic today, so much more in it. And so anyway, just a side note, but I have lots of energy today. Feeling real good. Okay, so that being said, we are talking today about how impact, income, and even energy exchange actually work and how they're going to create big results in your business. So I love this topic because I think that so often people in this online space really get stuck in a place of one or the other. I usually see most clients come to me really stuck on one, if that makes sense. They're all about the impact or they're all about the income. And bringing them together is such a difference maker in seeing them grow faster. Casey says, sounds wonderful and so true. Yes, it really is. Just hard to remember. Sometimes when you're in the moment, you can remember it, but it's hard to remember it, right? Hey, Debbie. Okay, cool. So anyway, a lot of people get really focused on one or the other, and they come to me really focused on one or the other. So what I want to say is that income is a very, very, very big and important step to making an impact, hands down. If you're not making an income in your business, you are not going to make a long-term impact, right? You're going to have to shut down your business. You're going to have to stop at some point. If you're not making an income in your business, you cannot make an impact long term. Yes? Conversely, you also get the income because you start making an impact first. So you're never going to get to the point where someone wants to hire you unless you've impacted them first. So they're completely intertwined. It is never one or the other. So I'm going to give you some examples of what kind of focusing on one or the other looks like, so you can kind of know oh, interesting, I'm totally doing that. Hey, Claire, if you're listening, tell me if you feel if you focus on one more than the other, and also no shame in any of that. It's totally fine either way. Or if you remember a time in your business where you were really focused on one versus the other, tell me that in the comments. But okay, so for example, here's what focusing entirely on income could look like. It looks like asking the question a lot why aren't people buying from me? And expecting people to buy from you before you've given free value, or thinking that you shouldn't have to give free value. So I've heard that in a lot of different ways. Hey, Amy, thank you for joining me. I've heard that in a lot of different ways from people as almost this idea of well, people should be hiring me. I have all this experience. I have all this knowledge. I have, I don't want to work for free, or I don't want to do this for free, right? But it's yeah, but they don't know that. They haven't had an experience with you, right? And so if you're kind of telling that story, right, that's a really good thing to say. And it's not to say you're greedy because you're just focused on income. It's to say that there is some mindset stuff going on around what it would be like to focus on impact potentially, right? So the truth is that no one knows you, so you do have to give value first, and then they want to buy that value and more from you. When we make it kind of all about the money and not what we're excited to share about, what message we want to get out there, who we want to help, what our why is, why we want to serve, then we're kind of in this constant cycle of feeling people aren't giving us enough back, if that makes sense. Claire says she feels she has a good balance right now, but she's definitely been out of balance at times for sure. Absolutely. I think we all have, but finding that place where they're intertwined is so much better for your business. Hey, Lori Ann, thank you for joining me. Okay, so let's talk about what it would look like if you're just focused on impact. So focusing just on the impact looks like you're never selling, you're not helping anyone move through their objections, you're only giving free value, you're never telling your audience how to take the next step with you, you're always serving for free, you're not holding boundaries, right? So you can probably tell if there's a side you've been leaning toward. Oh, thank you, Claire. I love it too. It's a very special gift and surprise. Thank you. So does that make sense? Like usually we're leaning toward one or the other. And again, like there's no shame either way. It's not like, I think what can happen is like we vilify, like if you're someone that's leaning toward income, you're wrong. I'm leaning toward impact. So I'm like way more, whatever, I don't know, nice or something. But they're two sides of the same coin, quite honestly, because if you're focused on the income, you're not making the impact you want. And if you're focused on the impact and not the money, you're really not serving at the highest level. So it's the same thing, right? But again, it's important to be able to see which side am I leaning toward, right? And when you find that balance of them always being about both, that's when you're creating that even exchange of energy, right? You know that if you give amazing free value that impacts people, that you will make an income. And you know that you can use that income to create even more impact along the way. So I talk about this with clients a lot where, you know, they're feeling like, you know, they want to make a huge impact. They want to have a huge reach. Amazing. But like you have to be resourced and able to do that. Or in order to do that, right? If you're not resourced, trust me, it's not easy to launch a giant course and serve thousands of people. If you're not resourced, it's really hard to build that big audience. If you're not resourced, it's really hard to reach out more and more, right? And if you are only ever focused on the impact, you really aren't resourcing yourself enough to make the greatest impact overall. Does that make sense? So either way, they have to live together. They have to be part of the same thing. So the reason I say that this is important and that it's going to create big results for you is because you have to focus on that even exchange of energy in everything you do in your business. And so this is like a really good thing to run your strategies through. So can anybody give me that's listening like a strategy that they're focused on in their business right now so I can use it as an example, whether that's like getting people on free calls or doing webinars or running challenges or whatever. Give me like a marketing strategy that you're focused on right now in your business. So if you only focus on one side of the coin, you're never going to be able to move your business forward as fast as you can. If you focus on both, that changes the trajectory of how fast you can go. Claire says she's focused on selling her group program, right? Okay, cool. So what does even exchange of that look like? It means you have to give a lot of people a big impact before they're going to give you the exchange of income, right? Does that make sense? So like in a strategy like that, sometimes we can get, and I'm not saying you are, I'm just so grateful to use you as an example, but sometimes we can get so focused on the income. So we're like, okay, sell a group program, make the money, make the money. How do I make the money, make the money, make the money, make the money, right? And then what happens is we like get pissed when people aren't buying. We feel frustrated. Oh, here's a good one. We feel oh, I want to write this down so I don't forget. I've been forgetting shit all the time lately, you guys. Okay, I'm going to use that as an example too. But we get frustrated with our email list or our people, right? We're like, what's going on? Why aren't people buying this? What the heck? And we're not like, how do I give that much value? So someone that I really love is Margaret Lynch. She wrote the book Tapping into Wealth, and she's tapping videos on YouTube. But one of the things I really love about her is how she talks about money basically in exchange and even exchange. And something that I've heard, I think before I even started my business or right at the beginning of starting my business, and it has impacted me so much in how I think about everything. And it's one of the things that has really contributed to my philosophy on even energy exchange. But she basically talks about if you want to make $50,000, it's your job to go out and figure out how to put $50,000 worth of value into the world. Sit on that for a second, right? So often we're like, I want to have a 6-figure launch. We're not asking ourselves, how am I going to create 6 figures worth of value? Right? Like, I really think that that's such a powerful thing to take in. And I think it's such a thing that most entrepreneurs are not asking themselves, right? We're expecting so much more sometimes, or we're giving so much more without ever making the offer to get something in return. So we're putting out the $50K worth of value, but we're never asking for it in return. Or we're so focused on the $50K number that we're never spending our time putting out $50K worth of value. Does that make sense? So a really good question is, whatever goal I have income-wise, am I putting out the equivalent of that in value, right? So if I want to hit it 6 figures, am I putting out 6 figures worth of value? If I am, and I'm still not getting that exchange, then how am I asking for more of that value? Does that make sense? Hi, Debbie. Hi, Sarah. Thank you guys for jumping back on. I don't know. Facebook does this thing to me all the time now. I got to be like prepared for it or something. Who the heck knows? Okay, so hopefully that was helpful as far as like the frame for it, right? So it's like, whatever income you want, are you putting out that much of an impact? And if you are you asking for that income in return? And until you find that balance of both, it's not going to work. And what happens so often is if we're really focused on the income, we're not putting out that much value. And what else happens if we're really focused on the impact, we're not asking for the income, right? And so it gets very confusing to us because we're like, I'm so focused on the income and I'm not making it, or I'm so focused on the impact, why aren't people buying from me? And it's because you have to put that other piece of the puzzle together to see it all flow. Hi. Thank you guys for getting back on. I'm so sorry. Hey, Christy. Hey, Airseas. Thank you guys for joining me. Okay, so hopefully that is helpful, but really it's almost always that we're leaning into one piece over another. So if you're not seeing those results, that's a really big reason. Here's another example I really love because everybody has done this. And I don't see it as much anymore, or maybe I'm just like not filtering for it anymore, but I see this, have seen this in the past a lot, where people get, Ercy says, do you mind saying what that piece of the puzzle is? Sure, I can say it again. So basically I was talking about how someone that I really love, her name's Margaret Lynch, talks about in her tapping videos, she talks about like, if you want to make 50K, are you putting out 50K worth of value? And that's really influenced my views on even energy exchange. So it's kind of like, if you want to have a 6-figure launch, are you putting out 6 figures worth of value? And usually we're missing one piece. So if we want to have a 6-figure launch, a lot of times we're so focused on the income, that the missing piece is we're not actually putting out 6 figures worth of value to create that even exchange. Or if we're so focused on the impact, right, we're maybe putting out the 6 figures worth of value, but we're not asking for the 6 figures in income, right? You love her, so do I. She's amazing, right? So we're not asking for the 6 figures worth of income. So normally in our business, if we're not getting the results we want, it's because one of those pieces are missing. And like, no shame in that game either way, whether it's income or impact for you. Like, I feel like those are two sides of the same coin. Like, one is not better than the other, right? But you got to know, like, oh, wow, I've really been overly focused on the impact and I haven't been selling to make the income. Or I've been overly focused on the income and it's really time to get back to impacting my audience. So if you're not a place you want in your business, going back to, these are the two pieces of the puzzle. Which one am I not leaning into enough right now? Because if I'm putting out 6 figures worth of value, right, I'm ready to get that in return. I'm ready for that even exchange. Or if I'm not putting out 6 figures worth of value, well, then no shit, I'm not making 6 figures. It's that simple, really, right? That makes so much sense. Amazing. Yeah, it's really kind of that simple. So if you only stay focused on one side of the coin, you're never going to move your business forward as fast as you can. So if you're listening, whether you're live or the replay, like, I would love to know, do you want to just like call yourself out? Like, which one have you been focused on? And again, one is not better than the other. Like, focusing on income doesn't make you a bad person. It's just something we get sucked into in business one way or the other, quite honestly, right? But you have to have both to run a sustainable business, to feel really good and not burnt out in your business, to actually move that needle forward. Without both, the needle isn't moving forward. So it's really up to you to figure out, like, what is that missing piece for me, right? So I really want to give you some examples. So I'm always looking at even energy exchanges in my business because it's what truly makes it feel the best, and that's so key. So, hi Claire, I know I'm back. Facebook does this thing to me all the time where it like kicks me off after 15 minutes. I don't know. So I like to tell myself I just bring too much energy, but I don't think that's it. But Airseas says I've been focusing way too much on income right now, but the thing I'm lost on is how do I know if it's 5K value? I mean, I definitely don't think it's an exact science, but I definitely think that it's worth being like, okay, I've been really focused on the income. What is the next level of impact that feels like, oh my gosh, I'm giving like 5K worth of value here? Like, so for example, excuse me, like I'm showing up for my audience and I'm doing a live training once a week. And like, if they took that live training and put it into action, like for sure that's 5K worth of value. I'm just making that up. Like, you get to assign what you want to it, but it's like really feeling into like, does this feel like an even exchange? Like, am I giving as much as I want to receive? And am I letting myself receive as much as I give, right? So feeling into that balance for you is so important. So, and also it's more of like a macro than a micro. In other words, like you don't need to like track like this training equals that much value, but like the macro of like, I am always showing up for my community. I'm always giving them value. I'm always giving them trainings. I'm always there for them. And I know I'm creating that even exchange. Before I think I got distracted and was going to say this before, but here's another example that I see so often is somebody will get really grumpy about their Facebook group or their Instagram following, or people will be like, oh, I just like hate my Facebook group. Like, so much energy, like it takes so much time. People need so much from me. They have so many questions. I have to monitor. I have to this, I have to that, like, right? And it's really easy to like vilify the Facebook group. But then if you like actually look at it and you're like, oh, but 80% of my income is coming from that Facebook group, suddenly the exchange feels really fucking worth it. You know what I mean? So people ask me all the time, like, how have you grown your group? How have you kept your group so engaged? Oh my gosh, like your group is so participative with each other and you like don't have a lot of spam and whatever, right? I just never get grumpy about it, and I always pour into it because the majority of my income comes from it. So for me, it's like whatever, I made, you know, almost 400K off this group last year. I'm gonna be here all the motherfucking time giving value. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy to think about it like that, where it's like, no, it doesn't annoy me to do the admin stuff or pay someone to do the admin stuff of this group. The exchange is that it gave me like 400K last year. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just making that up, but like quite honestly, most of my clients come from this group or from other clients I got in this group that referred other people or whatever. And so, yeah, no freaking brainer to show up here and give value every day and be participative and engage and whatever. Like, nothing about that annoys me. Nothing about this group that's making me 400K is ever gonna annoy me. Do you know what I mean? Irsi says, that's honestly a good suggestion. I'm horrible at receiving. So that might be a piece of it for you too. Irsi says, like, I need to let myself receive the amount of value I'm giving, right? Claire says, so true. Yes, badass at it for 3 years. I've seen it. Love it. Oh, thank you. You love this group. Oh, me too. I just really love this place. I just like it here. But it's like a good example. And I think what can happen is sometimes, like, as far as the income and impact, sometimes what can happen is, like, at the beginning, we're so focused on impact, right? Or income, I guess, depends. Well, let's just use an example. We're like pouring into a group as an example at the beginning, and then we start making money and we get so focused on the income that, like, everything about the group starts to annoy us, and we want to pull back and we want to give less value and we don't want to be as present. And it's like, but the even exchange is still the thing, y'all. Do you know what I mean? And so if you're feeling that tug in your business one way or another, this is going to be such a difference maker for you. Is how can it not make me mad to, like, give a ton of value? Well, first of all, I have to let myself receive that value back. I have to ask for that value back, right? So in other words, this community isn't just like throwing money at me. Like, I'm asking for it. I'm selling. I'm like, here's a ton of value, and also you should buy from me. Here's a ton of value, and here's how to buy from me. Here's a ton of value, and hire me, right? And that is the even exchange. And that's why nothing about pouring into this group ever bothers me, ever makes me want to pull back, ever annoys me, right? And that's how I want you to feel with wherever you decide to pour into, is that there is an even exchange coming from it. Like, and to really make those two feel connected. So I think what can happen is sometimes, like, we're looking at income numbers over here, and then we're looking at, like, the specifics of managing a group over here. And we're like, oh my God, it's so much work to manage a group, and it takes 10 hours of my time each week. Okay, again, but if you're making 6 figures and 80% of that is coming from your group, is it worth 10 hours a week to make 80% of your income? Hashtag even energy exchange. You know what I mean? Like, that's it right there. Yeah, totally. Oh, I'm so glad it makes a difference for you. That's music to my ears. Clara says, jab, 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 right hook. Exactly. It's like the Gary Vee philosophy. You know, give value 3 times as much as you sell, but you got to sell, right? And so for the impact, I don't even know that it has to look like 3 to 1, although I think that's a great thing, and I teach my clients that a lot. But it's what feels like an even energy exchange to you, and tying the exchange together. So not just looking at, like, here's what I do in my group and that's a whole thing, and then here's my income and that's a whole thing. Those fit together. Or anything else you're pouring your time into, whether that's like a membership site or your Instagram or your YouTube or whatever it is, right? I also think that sometimes, you know, it can be easy to get really, really caught up in one or the other. But I'll just share a little bit more of what it looks like for me in my business, because again, I really think that this is why I don't ever feel bad as far as, like, doing things in my business or running this group, where people are always like, how do you put out so much consistent content? Like, because I kind of look at it like that's what I get paid for. Like, this is the exchange. And I'm not trying to downplay. So I think somebody could be listening to this and being like, no, the exchange is like the work you do with your clients. And I agree. Like, the money I'm making is in exchange for, like, the work I'm doing with my clients, like behind the scenes, so to speak, one-on-one. However, the way to get those is to give them value first. And the way to have the even exchange is to have it go both ways. So for me, it feels like this, right? I give free value. A client hires me. I give them more value. They pay me. I give them more value. They recommend me. I give them more value. They maybe hire me again. Like, it's this ongoing, constant exchange. And so if you can see that you're always engaged in that, and it's always feeling even, it's going to be so much easier to, like, not be pissed off to do stuff in your business, to feel really motivated to put out content, to feel really motivated to serve your clients well, because it feels even. If you find yourself serving your clients and feeling like this is not even, like, I'm not getting compensated appropriately, it's time to change your prices. If you're like, I'm pouring way more into my group and I'm not getting anything out of it, it's time to start selling more, right? There's always a piece here of finding the balance. So for me, like, the even energy exchange can start with like a free call, a free challenge, a discovery call, a freebie, like really given that value up front and not feeling like, well, I shouldn't have to give a free call, or I shouldn't have to do a free challenge, or people should know XYZ that I'm amazing. No, no, no. It's always my job to give that impact and value first, and then take it further in an exchange with a paid client, right? And then here's like something that I've done in my business, and this is part of the fun news that I get to share with you guys. But one thing that I've really focused on as I've grown my business, and this is something else I want to say. At the beginning of your business, it's okay to focus really on income, because that's how you continue to make an impact, right? And so sometimes people will be like at the beginning of their business, like wanting to just like impact. Sorry, that's my dog scratching. I hope you guys can hear that. Sometimes at the beginning of people's businesses, they'll be wanting to make like this huge impact right away. And it's like, well, sometimes the way to make an impact long-term is to resource yourself with income first. So what I want to say is that that is for sure what I did in my business. I focused on one-on-one. I resourced myself first. I got that income flowing in, and so I could keep making the impact, right? Oh my gosh, she is just being like so crazy right now. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear. Now she's like moving the blind so she can look out the window. Apparently someone wants attention. So the thing with that is really kind of like seeing that one can happen over time. Like sometimes it is about the impact and sometimes it is about the income, and they always work together. But I just also want to say that it is okay sometimes if it is about the income at the beginning, because that's how you resource yourself to make a greater and greater impact. So what I'm about to share in the news I'm going to share, I just want you to know it comes from a place of having built this business for years at this point, and not from a you should do this tomorrow kind of place, but I'll explain. Claire says, first time we spoke, you gave me permission to not be able to make decisions. I was a sleep-deprived new mom. I won't ever forget that first call. Oh, beautiful, Claire. Thank you. Yeah, so it's like there's exchange, right? Claire hired me, and then I gave value. Like it can keep working like that. And I gave value before she hired me, which made her want to hire me. Like it's a whole thing, right? But so anyway, in my business now, one thing I've really focused on the past year is making an impact in other ways besides just like this community and my clients. So that has looked like donating to causes that I really care about. So for every client that works with me, I donate on their behalf to the Tory Burch Foundation because I really, really, really believe in them and what they're doing for women entrepreneurs. And then for Christmas, spoiler alert, for Christmas, I usually donate to Together Rising, Glennon Doyle's charity, because I really believe in them. But the point is, the more income I have, the more I resource myself, the greater of an impact I can make, not only on my community and my clients, but outside that in other organizations and other ways, right? And so I want you to not be afraid to focus on either, or to bring that missing puzzle piece in. So if you're a really impact-oriented person, permission to focus on the income, because that will let you make a bigger impact later on. Can you not? I don't even know. This must be what it feels like to have toddlers times 5 though. Claire says, thank the Lord I get sleep and the old me is back now. Beautiful. Irsi said, this is exactly what I desire to do. Amazing, right? So sometimes it's okay. Like if you're an impact-oriented person, and I definitely am, so I get it, you still got to make the sale. You got to focus on the income, because it's what resources you to take the next step to donate to those causes and things that you care about. So anyway, part of my exciting news and what happened to me is that I've been donating to the Tory Burch Foundation for a while now, but have really like upped my donation capacity over the last year. And so I donate for everyone that works with me in some capacity, right? And so we make a donation on in honor of that kind of, right? And that feels like even energy exchange to me too. Like someone's decided to work with me, like let me pass some of that income on and make an impact in another way, right? So again, it's like always filtering for like, are the things I'm doing in my business creating even energy exchange? And so for me, it's like when the income comes in, the impact can go out. But if I'm not making the income, I can't make those donations either, right? So we've been donating to them a lot. And then, but it's weird because we donate like often. Do you know what I mean? Like smaller amounts, but often. Like I'm never writing like a $6,000 check necessarily, but we're making small donations often that add up to a lot more than that, right? And so their foundation manager basically reached out to me and had kind of said like, what's going on? Like, why do we keep getting all these donations from you? What's up? Like, it's amazing. Thank you. But what the F, basically, which I thought was super funny. And I told her why, like I do this on behalf of my clients. It feels really important for me that when they take a step for themselves, I like donate to another entrepreneur taking a step for themselves. And I'm like really about even exchange in my business. And this is one of the ways I facilitate it. And so it was cool because we opened this whole conversation around this. And, you know, of course, like for their foundation, that's really meaningful too, because this is what they're about, is women-owned businesses and women embracing ambition and all of these really important things, right? And so because I formed this relationship with her, because I've been donating for years at this point, because I've really been consistent with that even energy exchange, and formed a relationship with that foundation, I actually got invited to something really exciting. So I'm going to the Embrace Ambition series. So it's this invitation only series. They're live streaming it. It's like through their foundation. You can't get a ticket. Like you have to be personally invited. And I'm like just so excited for that. And obviously that's a great opportunity for me and my business because I'm going to be in this experience, right? Where here's a great way to say it. I couldn't have bought my way into that. I had to impact my way into that. Does that make sense? Right, so you can't like buy a ticket. You have to be impacting in a way that invites you into that experience. And I'm like so excited to go and so excited to share that with you and be part of the whole series and everything. But what's really exciting for me is that it really shows that if you're focused on doing both and creating even energy exchange, you will always get poured back in. So I wasn't like donating to the Tory Burch Foundation thinking, please God, let them invite me to do something someday. I mean, like that never even occurred to me, right? But I always am focused on even exchange, and I always know that the ball rolls. So it's like I was saying, when I give to my community, someone hires me. When someone hires me, I give value back to them. Then they refer me. Then, you know, like I sign another client. And it's like this ping pong where when you're focused on it being about both and when you're focused on even energy exchange, it will always, always, always come back to you. Does that make sense? So for this, I couldn't have planned that. I couldn't have thought of that. I couldn't have been like, well, I'm only doing this so I can get this. But the client hires me. I make the donation. They reach back out to me. I get to come to this thing. I also add value for them by coming to this thing, right? And so I really just want to impart upon you that like you're never wrong for trying to focus on both. And you almost can't predict how it will come back to you. But if you put out that value, you'll get it back, right? But you have to ask for it back. You have to focus on getting it back. You have to open the doors to getting it back, but it always will ping pong. And then you have to say yes to getting it back. So here's an interesting thing. Oh, thank you guys. I love you all so much. Oh, wait, I want to see what Debbie had to say here. Debbie said, I have to keep reminding myself about offering my services. I get so into giving value that honestly, I'll get to the end of the week and think, oh dear, did I offer anything this week? Debbie, that's the perfect example, right? I get so focused on impact that I completely forget about income. And guess what? If I completely forget about income, so does my audience, right? If I'm not saying, here's how you can hire me, nobody's like making that connection. And it's not because they don't think you're wonderful. It's just because we're all busy and it's noisy. And so if you're not telling me what the next step is or what the even energy exchange is, I'm just not thinking about it, quite honestly, right? It's like I wasn't sitting there thinking about like, gosh, I really hope I get invited to this series. It's like it doesn't even occur to you. So it's really, really, really important that you're focused on both. And so asking yourself, well, how do I set up an even exchange? Because it's not even if I'm pouring value out all week and I'm never having an exchange with that, right? And sometimes the exchange is just you listen to my pitch, right? I have a lot of my clients do free calls, and it's like I give you value up front and give you value in this free call, and the exchange is you listen to my pitch, right? And so that can be your exchange with your audience. Sometimes, like, I give a ton of free value in this group, and the exchange is when I got a program to talk about, y'all listen, you know? Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Arces. Appreciate you guys. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So with this event, though, like, they invited me. That's amazing, but it's in Miami, and they're certainly not paying for my plane ticket, right? So part of me had to step into that too, and then be in another even exchange of like, but it's still worth it for me to like book a plane ticket and a hotel to be part of this, right? So we're constantly in even energy exchange of value, but we also have to step into stuff sometimes. So in other words, like, what you have to step into is really selling to your client. And if someone is interested in hiring you, really helping them overcome their objections or whatever that might be. But like, we're never just like having something flow to us where we don't have to make an exchange as well. Does that make sense? So it's like the Facebook group example. I'm not going to have 400K flow to me without having to exchange with this group. I'm not going to have this opportunity flow to me without exchanging with their organization. I'm not going to have the experience of being at the event without exchanging my time, energy, and dollars to get there, right? And so I think that so often we get just too focused on one side, and that's why I wanted to talk about this today, because we get like, oh, like it would be easy to be like, oh gosh, well, if that event was in Tampa, I would totally go, but you know, it's in Miami and that's a lot. Nah, like that exchange is worth it. Or, well, yeah, I mean, I would open a Facebook group if it were easier to manage, but like that's a lot. Okay, well, do you want the results of that though? Or I would sell more, but you know, that's a lot. I don't know. Okay, but do you want the results of that? Does that make sense? So it's like, if you can find those places in your business where you're creating that even exchange, you're always going to get it flowing back. If you're constantly just focused on one, you're going to keep having that experience of like not enough impact or not enough income and not having them come together. So my call to you today is like, figure out what the missing piece is for you. Like Arces wants to focus more on the impact. Claire is going to focus on the impact because she's launching her group program. Debbie needs to focus way more on the income, right? So if you're watching, tell us what you need to focus more on if you're watching the live or the replay, and then really commit to feeling into like, where are these places in my business? Because the opportunities that come from it are amazing, and it fast forwards things. And when you're just focused on one, it doesn't. It slows things down. It holds you back, and it feels like you're pushing a boulder up a hill, right? Whether that's either side of the coin, right? If you're always giving value and never selling, it's going to feel like you're pushing a boulder up the hill. If you're always selling, you haven't gotten value, you're going to wonder why everyone's not buying from you, right? So really feel into what needs to happen in your business to make this change, to make these pieces come together and for it to feel even and good. And then just know like the opportunities that can come from that are so endless. Like I couldn't have predicted like, oh, after like a couple years of like really donating to this foundation, this opportunity is going to come. But I knew I wanted to be about both. I know I want to make an impact every time I make an income and vice versa. So I hope that was helpful. I'm so excited to share more about it with you guys. I will definitely be, I'll do some Insta stories and we'll share more about the event with you. It's actually this Thursday. So I'm flying to Miami Thursday to go. I'm so excited. I'm bringing Sarah with me, so we're gonna have so much fun. So if you're not following me on Instagram, follow me there because it'll probably be easier for me to do stories than to share in the group. I'm on Instagram at A Lit Up Life. I can put that in a little thing here. And if you feel like you're struggling with this, I think one really good thing to download, I have a freebie that's called Your Waiting List is Waiting. I'll put that in here too. And basically it talks about what I did to fill my coaching practice and create a wait list at the beginning. And Irsis, where do you live? I didn't know you lived 2 hours from Miami. Where in Florida do you live? Debbie, very helpful and so incredible. Thank you. So your waiting list is super helpful because it really does talk about both. So it does talk about like the specifics of like selling, but it also talks about the specifics of like giving your community a ton of value. And it basically has the 7 steps I took to book out my practice. So if you feel like you're struggling with this, it's totally free. You can download it and it'll kind of walk you through some of that, but really feel into there's probably a missing piece for you. You're probably missing one a little bit more than the other. And if you start bringing them together in an even way, you're going to see things speed up so much. Think about it like, you know, like a wheel rolling. Like when the balance is there, it's fast. When it's off, it's like clunky and all over the place. And that's how your business can feel when you're not doing both in an even way. So hope that's helpful. If you guys have questions about this, let me know. I will share with you more about the Embrace Ambition series and that experience. And I love you all and hope you have a beautiful week. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.